Susan earned her undergraduate master's degree in education, specializing in health and physical education from Memphis State University, and later completed her doctorate of education at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. She began her career in 1969 as a public school teacher in Memphis and later taught at Christian Brothers College. In Raleigh, North Carolina, she served as physical education coordinator for the State Department of Public Institution and worked as a national clinician with the President's Council of Physical Fitness and Sports. In 1983, Susan joined the Cooper Institute in Dallas as a research assistant, eventually becoming director of education. She developed one of the industry's first group exercise certificate programs and worked exclusively with law enforcement, military, wellness professionals, and healthcare providers. She's an author of over 70 professional articles and earned several awards. After retiring, Susan co-founded Shakers and Movers with her husband, Charles Stroh, following his Parkinson's diagnosis. She co-created Move, Laugh, Connect, which some of you might be familiar with, as it's a program offered for free to members of Dallas's Eric Parkinson Society. Since Charles' passing earlier this year, Susan has continued her shared mission with a dedication and passion. She remains an active advocate for the Parkinson's community, promoting the Move, Laugh, Connect program, speaking at events like today, mentoring others affected by the disease, and partnering with the organizations like DAPS that support quality of life for those living with Parkinson's. Through her continued work, Susan honors Charles' legacy and continues to uplift and support the Parkinson's community. Please join me in giving a warm welcome for Dr. Susan Sterling.
It's so nice to come back to a DAPS event and see some of my old friends. You can hear me? Not old in the sense of old, but in the sense of longtime friends. I'm here today to speak about care partners, the hidden patient. A lot of times when a person is first diagnosed, their neurologist will get a new patient, but he actually gets two patients. And I'm very glad that the medical profession is now beginning to recognize that the hidden patient, who is the caregiver or the care partner, also needs care. Because research shows that the healthier and the stronger the person is that is caring for the patient does better in terms of longevity, happiness, less hospital stays. And so we've got two patients, not just one. I'm going to be using terms caregiver, caretaker, care partner. They're all synonymous. You can pick out whichever term you like, and I will be using them interchangeably. The journey with Parkinson's is best in the care partner hand in hand. As Brian mentioned, I lost Charles March 12th of this year, and he had a fall. He hit his head and he fractured 3 vertebrae in his neck, and he was in the hospital for 4 days. One of those fractures nicked an artery, and it led to a stroke, and he did not survive. He was doing well because some of the things in this presentation today we followed, and I really enjoyed listening to Dr. McDaniels because he also had a lot of good positive things that can enrich the quality of life, and so some of those things I'll be talking about today. The National Alliance for Caregiving has a definition. Caregiving is everything we do to assist a friend or relative due to that person's illness or disability, and that we do for our own health. Now, the definition of caregiving used to stop after the word disability, but then they begin to recognize that we need to care for the caregiver as well. There are dual roles of caregiving. Not only do you care for the person that you're taking care of, but you take care of yourself. And you've probably often heard this first statement. When you've seen one case of Parkinson's, you've seen one case, because it manifests differently in different people. and you have to treat symptoms and the person very different. Although there's some commonalities, it is very different. The same is true with the care partners. Every journey is very unique, and it's not static. It doesn't stay the same. It changes over time. Charles and I came to ADAPT's event, and we went around to the sponsor tables, and there was a lot of good information there. But I stopped at one table because they were giving away Reese's peanut butter cups, and I saw a booklet there, and it said Caring and Coping. And I never bothered with caregiving information before because I considered myself a wife. I promised to love, honor. I did not promise to obey. But I did the rest of it, and I signed up for sickness and health. So I did not feel like a caregiver, and so it just wasn't on my radar to pick up caregiving information or to get involved in support groups. But I'm glad I did. The lady said, go ahead and take that home with you. So I did. I read it, and some things I had just stumbled on and figured it out myself and was accidentally doing the right thing. But other things I learned a lot by reading the book, Caring and Coping, which took the dual role, care for someone else, but then care for yourself. Very important. And these were some of the needs, and so these are some of the things I'm going to talk about today. They talked about education, time management, self-care, support team, relationship with your partner, medical, financial, care decisions, and community resources. So I'm going to be taking each one of these, and I'll start with education. So there was this guy who was a boxer, and he had never even had his first boxing match. But he and his coach were working very closely together, developing strategies to win, and they trained long and hard. Well, come the very first night of his very first fight, he was just getting brutalized. He was getting beat up. He lost the fight. And afterwards, the coach went to him and said, what happened? I thought you were going to win. We worked really hard on all these strategies. He said, yeah, coach, I thought I was going to win too. But when I started getting hit in the face, that changed everything. And you can see the analogy to being diagnosed with Parkinson's. That changes everything. It changes for the patient and the hidden patient, and at all levels of your existence. Mental, physical, emotional, social, and as Dr. McDaniels was talking about, spiritual. And I even saw on the slide it said environmental. So it changes everything. Your whole world changes. One of the best things that you can do to adapt to these changes, can you see? Shall I back up a little? Yeah, that would help. Okay. So one of the best things that you can do is educate yourself and educate your family. Learn about warning signs, diagnosis, symptoms. And again, symptoms are different in different people. My husband had tremors, but he didn't have freezing. Another friend had freezing, but no tremors. So different things will manifest itself. But the first three are important, so you need to learn all about that. But even more important are the last three. What are the treatments? How can you live well each day? What are the resources so you don't have to take this journey all alone? I am lovable and capable. Every day we wake up with a sign. It's a self-esteem sign. And throughout the day, there may be things that affect the self-esteem sign. Someone says, I can't hear what you're saying. You may spill something that you're trying to drink. You have to give up your tennis club. You can't do some of the things that you used to do. You're not driving. You can see by the end of the day that your self-esteem sign may be tattered and torn. And so is the caretaker as well. Some of their self-esteem can be tattered and torn. But the good news is every day you wake up and you get a brand new I am lovable and capable sign. What you have to do is think about the things that make you lovable and capable. Perhaps you have to do a mind shift. Many of you maybe have known Joe Klein. She was on the board of DAPS as well. She said something very interesting to me when I first met her. She said, I wouldn't want or wish Parkinson's on anyone, but it has enriched my life. So instead of her self-esteem sign being tattered and torn, she started thinking, I am capable. What can I do to help others? She served on the board, she developed materials, and as Booker T. Washington says, if you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else. You are still lovable and capable as a patient, and you're still lovable and capable as a caregiver. But your capabilities may be different, and you have to embrace those and find what is important to you and continue with that and your new self-esteem sign. So there's a changing role of caregivers. As the Parkinson's disease progresses, you will take on new tasks and learn new skills. Perhaps as a caregiver, you might learn to cut hair or do nails, or grooming that you've never done before. You may have to learn how to handle the finances for the family. You may do a lot more driving and learning how to use GPS and Google. So there may be a lot of skills that you will have to do to associate with this new life. And don't feel overwhelmed by that as a caregiver. Feel empowered. You're helping yourself, you're helping your partner. So continue to educate yourself so you can participate fully in healthcare discussions, make informed decisions, and provide emotional and physical support now and in the future. And as I said, the role is not static, it's ever changing. And so you'll have to make some adaptations and even perhaps learn more new skills and tasks to do. This is a 12-foot Christmas tree, and we had it in our home, and it came in 4 big, heavy sections. And Charles and I would put it up every holiday season and take it down. And then it got to the point where we couldn't take it down without help, either from family or friends. So we decided to leave it up. This is the Valentine's tree, and it was a St. Patrick's Day tree, 4th of July tree. Our grandchildren would have birthdays, so we'd put balloons all over it and messages of happy birthday. And instead of bemoaning the fact that we lost the capability of putting it up and down ourselves, we changed our attitude and spun it into a positive. Now, if you have Parkinson's or you're a caregiver for someone with Parkinson's, you know that not everything can be fixed. And you also know that not everything can be spun in a positive direction. But some things can, and it depends on your attitude. So keep the spinner in your back pocket and use it just whenever you can. Time management is another need of caregivers. So there was this guy who was talking to his buddy, and he said, I went to a time management seminar and I learned all about how to group tasks together so it would be more efficient and give me more time for the things I needed to do. And then when I went home, I saw my wife, who was cooking breakfast, go to the refrigerator. She got out the eggs, then she went to the cupboard, got out the pan, she went back to the refrigerator, got out the bacon, then she went to the cupboard and got out a spatula and a turning fork, and she went back to the refrigerator, orange juice, butter, and then back to the cupboard. So you can see where this is going. He talked to her and he said it would be a lot more efficient and it would help you manage your time better if you thought ahead just a little bit and you go and get all your needs from the refrigerator and all your needs from the cupboard, and then go ahead and proceed to make breakfast. And so he said, and how did that work out? He said, it's working out just fine, but I'm cooking my own breakfast now. And you could probably knew that was coming because I took the picture up there that he was taking care of his own breakfast. Your time needs will be very different, and it would be very useful to be able to practice efficiency, group things together. You could even take a time management seminar. Make daily and weekly lists of things to do. Charles and I had a little whiteboard, and we would drink coffee, read the paper, and then we, after we did all that in the morning, we would take this little whiteboard and go over the task for the day, and we put a little line and go over the task, the important task of the week. And we enjoyed this. We called it our morning meeting. So we'd have a little morning meeting and discuss the events of the day. We needed to prioritize. Some of the things that we had always done were not possible anymore in terms of time, energy, physicality, and I'm not even sure that's a word, but I hear it on television a lot. So you need to prioritize what is the most important thing in your life, what is the most important thing for this day. And so those things need to come to the top, and they need good attention. Delegate with specific requests. There may be someone in your family who says, what can I do to help? Have something very specific. Just say, if you can come over, Mary needs some help writing some thank you notes. Or would you take Bill to lunch because I've got a dentist appointment? So the more that you can communicate on specific requests, the more help you can give. Now, you can do all the tasks yourself, but you need a break as a caregiver, and then also the person needs to expand their social interactions with other people, not just you. Very easy to get isolated. And establish and stick to routines. We used to go out and eat with people at night at maybe a dining place, and that was no longer possible because we had eat, sleep, medication, exercise, doctor's appointments. It was, the body and mind does better if you have a specific schedule. So instead of giving up our friendships with these people, we just said, okay, we'll meet you for breakfast, because we could put that in our schedule. So instead of dining out at night anymore, we said, okay, we'll meet you at the original House of Pancakes. So again, you need to make adaptations, but keep in your life those things that are most important to you. Your friendships, the things that bring you joy and pleasure. Speaking of priorities, when Charles first got diagnosed, we came home a little bit in shock, and we said, how are we going to deal with this? What are our priorities? What are the things that are most important to us? He spent most of his career, and I did too, at the Cooper Institute and on the Cooper campus with Ken Cooper. Charles ran the business for Ken, and I was director of education over at the Cooper Institute. And we were both very well brainwashed by Ken Cooper that exercise was good for you. And there's plenty of evidence that shows he was right all along. Yes, ma'am?
Turn this fan off.
Please do. I told that it was way up here, and I said, you can't hear with that. So they put it way back there. And if you're cool enough, yeah, just unplug it.
Oh, mercy. Thank you.
Okay. You want me to start over? Probably these people up in front don't want me to, but. So
We'll share notes.
We were brainwashed that exercise is good, so we knew every day that was gonna be a part of our life, not only every single day, but the long journey forward. That was one of our priorities. Another thing was laughing. We knew that a positive attitude was very important. Laughing has been called internal jogging. And what it does is it creates hormones in your body. I call them the happy hormones. And when you're secreting happy hormones, the stressful hormones like cortisol and the catecholamines of epinephrine and norepinephrine, they can't make both of them at the same time. So every time you have good hormones being manufactured by your body, it kind of dissipates the effect of some of those stressful hormones. And connect. We do know that having social relationships is very important. People want to belong. They want to know that they matter to other people. So social capital is getting a lot more of attention, and the statistic is the same that Brad had this morning. Social isolation and not connecting to people is as dangerous as smoking. And we know that connections also secrete some of the same happy hormones, like serotonin, it makes you feel good, dopamine, which is very important for you and your caregiver. That is associated sometimes with rewards, like if you've done something well, even if it's a new skill or new task, you have some dopamine that makes you feel good about yourself, that you've accomplished that. Oxytocin is a good hormone. When you're touching or bonding or making love, those are secreted. Endorphins, it's been called kind of a runner's hormone because you've heard of the runner's high. Well, endorphins are kind of painkillers, also feeling good. So, excuse me, having these happy hormones is like jogging, relaxing, and having sex all at the same time. So what you want is a lot of good, happy hormones. And so Charles and I decided this was going to be our blueprint for every single day and the journey ahead. And I'll speak a little bit more about Move, Laugh, and Connect because it morphed into something else. The third need of a caregiver is self-care. So there was this wood chopper. He was hired by a farmer to chop down some trees to clear his land. The first day he chopped down 5 trees. The second day he chopped down 3 trees, and the farmer started getting a little bit concerned. But he waited it out one more day, and the third day he chopped down 1 tree. So he went to talk to the wood chopper, and he said, I can't keep paying you money if you're only going to chop down 1 tree. What happened? The first day it was 5, then it was 3, and it was 1. He said, I was so busy chopping trees that I didn't have time to stop and sharpen my tools. So you can see where this is going. Self-care is so important, and you can get very much tied up into being so busy you can't care for yourself. The National Alliance for Caregiving says build in at least 1 to 2 hours a day, just me time. And this needs to be communicated and understood by the patient and the caregiver. Just pick out a time that works for you and everybody understands that that is your time. I would choose to take my time early in the morning before Charles would even wake up. He needed his beauty sleep. So I would get up and I would cook or read or do communication on my emails. I would exercise. I did whatever I wanted. I do my nails. Well, I don't really do nails too much, but I did whatever I wanted. It was me time, and it gave me a respite from the rest of the day. And then I would really look forward to Charles getting up so we could take out our little whiteboard and plan the day. You need to do good health habits, not only for your partner, but for yourself as well. Eat right, sleep right. Figure out the things that can make you as healthy as possible. Get regular checkups. Caregivers are known very well for skipping dental appointments or regular exams where they can maintain their health. And so make it a point not to skip these exams. Take care of yourself. And you may need to elicit the help of other people, family. Just say, come stay with Bill while I go to the dentist. Recognize when you are stressed. There's two types of stress. One is the big stress: death, divorce, disaster, Parkinson's disease. And the other is what the stress scientists call daily hassles. And these also secrete stressful hormones like cortisol and the catecholamines. But all these little dumps in your system all day long, along with the big stresses of life, can elevate these harmful hormones. So the happy hormones create a very positive environment. The stress hormones create a very negative internal environment. And what we need to do is stay away from the high levels of stress hormones that are sustained over a long time. Now that's very difficult to do because the daily challenges of Parkinson's are those daily hassles, and it can become overwhelming. They took a look at people who prepared, like tax accountants who prepared the tax reports. They took a look at their cholesterol before tax season, and it was down here in their normal range. During tax season, when they were working long hours and talking with people who were not very happy with their tax reports, and their cholesterol levels were here. After tax season, they came back down to normal. It seems like the stress hormones interfere with your body's ability to remove the LDL, or the low-density lipoproteins, which is considered the kind of cholesterol that clogs your arteries. So over a long time, stress hormones can actually increase your cholesterol. It also increases your blood pressure, which sustained over time can lead to a stroke. Because of these different chemicals in your body gets ready to stay and fight or run away. It's a survival mechanism that's been around for a long time. And you've heard that being stressed gives you a fight or flight choice. And that's what it does. It mobilizes some energy in terms of blood sugar so that you can stay and fight or run away. Makes your blood pressure go up, makes your heart rate go up. And these are very valuable things for survival. But it is intended for you to get to high levels and ready for action, but then bring it right back down. And what happens sometimes when we get stressed is we get high levels of stress hormones, and it's sustained there over time, which can lead to heart attacks, stroke, and the stressful hormones interfere with your body's ability to make natural killer cells which protect us against cancer. So it can lead to cancer. So what we need to do is keep these stressful hormones at low levels. And how do we do that? Well, this little pointer's not working. The smiley face. Anything that makes you feel happy gives you a respite from the stress hormones, even in the darkest days of human history. In the Frankel book that Dr. McDaniels was talking about, Some of the prisoners would give silly or funny or demeaning names to the guards. And some of the people felt like that little bit of humor or happiness is what helped them survive unimaginable horrors. And so that helped me get through. And we have noticed that being happy and having happy hormones and being able to have humor in our life can get us through a lot of challenges. So anything that you do that makes you happy, and they're different for different people. Some people love to shop, some people hate to shop. Some people love to read a book, other people don't. What you have to do is find out what makes you smile. Is it playing with animals or children, or taking a warm bath, or going out to eat with friends? Whatever you do that can give you a break from some of these stressful chemicals is good. Now, being happy may not solve all your stress problems. It doesn't make your stress go away, but biochemically, you may be able to sleep just a little bit better that night. So we need to recognize when we are stressed and we need to have a break. Go do something fun, hug somebody, play with a puppy, get someone to come over and give you a break. And you can ask people. You know, I found all the time family or friends would say, what can I do to help? Well, know when you're stressed and know when you need a break. Maintain your sense of humor. That was real easy for me because Charles had a great sense of humor. He's wearing a shirt that says shaky, and I got the shirt that says, I'm with Shaky. This was our physical therapist, and she said we were the most fun people that she ever worked with because we did have a sense of humor. And we were afraid to wear these shirts to our Parkinson's class because we thought that it might offend somebody. Because, oh, where'd you get that? I want one of those. Because they knew it was important to maintain a good sense of humor. We would go to class and we would sit outside waiting for the other class to clear out. And people would come early just so we could visit. And some of the conversations were hilarious. They were talking about marijuana and brownies, and someone said, well, what about dopamine in brownies? And so we all had a really good bond with each other, and we shared a sense of humor because we were dealing with some of the same things. The support team is very important. Your healthcare team, your neurologist, physician assistants, nurse, pharmacist, social worker, physical therapist, occupational therapist, psychologist, registered dietitians, family, friends, neighbors, support groups, volunteers, clergy, online support forums, and Parkinson's disease organizations. All of these are important. All of these can give you information. All of these can give you support. All of these can give you ideas for living better and living longer. Do not underestimate what you can learn from people who have Parkinson's. This is a hot sock, and we were in class one day, our Parkinson's class, and we were telling a person in the class how cold Charles's hands would get. And so the next day she came in, or the next class, she came in with this particular sock right here. It's kind of like a little athletic sock, and you put rice in it. And this size sock, it took about almost 2.5, 3 cups of rice, and you tied off the end. You stick it in the microwave for about a minute, minute and a half, and it's warm. It would solve his hand freezing problems instantly. You can also put it on injuries. You can put it on your feet at night, stick one down in bed and put your feet on it. Or you can just put it on your chest and watch TV. So that's what we would do. We'd turn on the television, get our hot sock, and just cozy up. So don't underestimate what you can learn from other people. We learn a lot from other people dealing with it and trying to solve the problems. Sometimes more than the medical professional. And they will give you the drugs that you need, and they can point to different resources. But you can also learn from each other. And that's the beauty of coming to DAPS events. You can make friends, talk, learn from each other. Relationship with partner. Maintain open communication and able to talk about the positive and negative. Charles wanted to get his affairs in order for his 2 sons, who are my stepsons, and me. And we came up with a book that was called The Last Rodeo. Again, his sense of humor. Everything was in there, from will to resources and directions to the doctor, and the medications he was taking, what he wanted in his memorial service. We had all the information about his funeral, and every time, we called these the death talks, and we had them quite often. And every time he would have one of these death talks, I would start crying. He says, "Don't cry." He said, "This is a wonderful gift. It makes, it's intelligent to deal with these issues." Of course, nobody wants to talk about it. I didn't. I was sitting there crying all the time for about a year. And I was a caregiver for 17 years. And I began to realize that it is the intelligent thing to do, to have difficult conversations. Who do we call if we have an event? Which hospital do we go to? Have we got our wills in order? Have we paid for our plots? Do you want to be cremated or buried? And so after a while, I began to recognize how important this was and what a gift it was. Now, when he did die, everything was right there, and it was very easy. That part was easy. I'm still dealing with the part that's very hard. I just want to be with him. Take time to be together apart from the caregiving task. Sometimes, especially over time, the caregiving task can take up all your time and you forget to do the things that you always enjoyed as a couple. And so whatever was important to you, make sure that at some level you can still participate in some of those. Now, it may look differently, just like I was telling you, we used to love to go out to dinner with friends. We had to make it into a breakfast, but we still had that joy of sharing our life with friends. Find meaning and joy. Charles wrote songs. Now, in his real life, he was a businessman, but he also wrote songs. He had an award-winning CD. It was called Have You Lived It? And a person that hadn't lived as long as him or that didn't have Parkinson's couldn't write a song like that. So it won an award through Nashville. And he enjoyed writing songs. So after his diagnosis with Parkinson's, I started hearing rap music coming from wherever he was, all throughout the house. And I said, I know you've always enjoyed music, and I know you're a songwriter, but this isn't your usual genre. I said, what's with the rap music? He said, I am going to write a rap song. I'm going to get the people in our Parkinson's class to star in a video. And I see a couple of people even here that were in that video, Harold. And I'm going to spread the philosophy of what we came up with that enriches our life. Move, laugh, and connect. And he called it a tribute our peeps. And if you don't know rap language, peeps means people. So it was a tribute to his people, the community, the Parkinson's community. And I have a dance background, so he said, would you do the choreography? I said, of course. And it was so much fun. Even the people that were filmed one day came back the next day when they weren't even scheduled to be filmed anymore and brought additional props and sunglasses and and things to put in the video and cheered along with the people that were in the video. It was a wonderful, wonderful life bonding experience for all of us. This gave our life meaning and purpose. We got responses from all over the world, and they said, okay, you've inspired us to move, laugh, and connect. Where do we get this program? And we hadn't intended to give a program. We just said, well, we're going to tell you the words, and we thought you'd go, find it out yourself and develop your own strategies for move, laugh, and connect. And we got so many comments that you need to come up with the book so that we can follow it. And that's kind of what I did for a living, was I developed materials. So I wrote the book and had different sections and different activities for moving and laughing and connecting, all within one class. It's almost like a support group. And then I wrote the training manual and the certification manual, so I trained some teachers so that they could actually implement this book with people. One of the first people we worked with was GAPS, and they still have some excellent instructors, some of the best I've ever seen. If you ever worked with Barbara Mack or Tammy, they've been trained in Move, Laugh, and Connect. And what was surprising to me after we piloted it in 4 different states is the instructors themselves said, I am a far better instructor than I've ever been, and I've never studied as hard. But now I recognize that the whole person, mental, physical, emotional, can be incorporated into a single class. And this has been some of the most rewarding work I've ever done. And so I was very, very pleased to hear that from the instructors themselves. And we've always gotten good feedback from the people, participants in class themselves. As you look for ways to find connections with your partner that you're giving caregiving skills to, always remember to go back to some of the things you loved doing together. And again, it might look different, but you need to preserve that wonderful relationship. Charles and I would go around holding hands all the time, and people said, oh, you look so sweet, I know you're just in love. They said, no, we're just trying to keep from falling down. But we were in love too. Sister Jean, she is the chaplain for Loyola basketball team, and they just adore her. She's written a book. It says, Wake Up with Purpose. And the subtitle says, What I've Learned in My First 100 Years. I think she's 103 right now. I hope she's still alive. But she said in an interview that she would pray for both teams, but she prayed harder for her own team. So no wonder she's beloved. One of the things in the book is finding purpose, finding a reason to wake up every day and be happy and have quality in your life every single day. For Charles and I, it was moving and exercising, laughing and having fun, finding things that were fun for us to do, and connecting with each other and with other people. Sister Jean also tells about connecting with other people, and it does have the philosophy of the Booker T. Washington. If you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else, help others. There's a friend I had, or she's still alive. She had a husband with a stroke, so she was a caregiver for him, and she was a caregiver for her 100-year-old father. So she had 2 different people that she was giving full-time care for. And she had dogs, and the dogs were therapy dogs. And so she and her husband with the stroke and her 100-year-old father would train these dogs. And the dogs would go to hospitals, and kids would pet them, and they'd go to senior centers. They had meaning and purpose which enriched their lives. Now, what they could have done is nothing and had no meaning and purpose and ended up helpless and hopeless. But if you find something that's important to you, particularly if it gives and helps other people, that can give yourself meaning. If you don't have anything to do, I've got a task for you that Charles and I did. We wrote down kind of the story of his life, and he didn't want me to give it to the grandchildren until after he's gone because he wanted his death date to be put in there and then a final quote or two. And so we would meet and I would interview him and then I'd look up old family records. And I have a little, actually, usually you write your own memoir, but I wrote his memoir for him, but he told me about it. Your family and your grandchildren or your friends need to know about your life. I've seen it written as a narrative that kind of tells the story of your life. I've also seen it done where someone interviews you with, they can ask you a question and then you kind of write out or tell or speak or record an answer to that question. And that tells a lot about you too. So you may want to consider, if you don't have any meaningful tasks to do right now, start maybe taking some notes. Write your memoir or write some stories so the people around you will be able to remember you. Medical, financial care decisions. And again, we had a book called The Last Rodeo, and it was very useful. Define and clarify the issues. Again, do you want to be cremated? Where do you want to go? Do you want to be buried? Devise steps for carrying out these plans. Pay for them ahead of time if you can. Don't shy away from difficult conversations. This is the intelligent thing to do. Community resources. Use physical and practical assistance and products. There's a lot of things out there, and they're inventing things all the time. Resources from local organizations. Seek educational materials. Get legal documents. Power of attorney. Medical power of attorney. Your will. Reach out to various professionals that we listed just a while ago. Explore financial assistance if needed. There are people and resources that are willing to help. You don't have to make this journey alone. DAPS is a wonderful resource. I think I've got their old address on there, so just ignore that. They offer exercise classes, dance, boxing, Move, Laugh, and Connect, speech classes, educational series, support groups, newsletter, events such as Keep Moving or Keep Live. What's the name of this? Keep Living Well?
Living well.
Social such as the holiday luncheon and the community outreach program. They're a wonderful resource. And then there's some care partner associations, Family Caregiver Alliance, National Alliance for Caregiving, Caregiver Action Network. You can Google these, or if you're into Chat GPT, they got them too. You can find out these organizations, and they do have some good resources. Some of the things that I've gotten did not have a price tag at all. They were given away. I'm going to end now with a story. This story is true. Not all my stories were true. Like the wood chopper and the guy in the time management and the boxer. This one's true. We get our circus elephants from Thailand, and they'll trap a wild elephant and tie a big rope around the back leg and then around a big banyan tree, which are huge and they can't pull and tug away. The elephant tries to get away and violently pulls, and then after weeks, days and weeks, just finally gives up. It's called learned helplessness, and at that point they can take the elephant, sell it to a circus or a zoo, tie a little tiny stake to the ground, and the elephant doesn't even try to get away. He's learned to become helpless. A lot of times with a diagnosis of Parkinson's, that's what we do. We become helpless, we become hopeless, and all we really have to do is pull up the stake and go in any direction that we want to go. If you enjoy fishing, don't give up fishing. Fishing can be done from a wheelchair. Do the things that are important to you. And if you can't do them anymore, shift and find something that you can do. You're still lovable and capable. And there's a lot of good quality in life. We found quality of life through moving and laughing and connecting because those things were important to us. And yours may be laughing, fishing, and eating. But what you enjoy can give you those happy hormones and diminish the bad hormones. You can have a very good quality of life even with the diagnosis of Parkinson's. I read years ago in Ann Landers, when she was still alive, a very article that I really stopped to think about, and it's guided me my whole life. It was a woman who had a Down syndrome child, and she said, I had hopes for my daughter, and I had a whole different future planned for her while I was pregnant. But then when she came and she was Down syndrome, I was devastated. But then she said, as I grew to know this beautiful human being, the sweetest person on earth that gave unconditional love and trust, she enriched my life so much. I was going this direction, and I ended up going this direction. And looking back over my life, I would have chosen my daughter and the direction that I hadn't even intended to go on. So there are very good things in life that we can always enjoy and have a good quality of life every single day. Don't be tied to that stake. Don't become helpless and hopeless. There's plenty of help out there. But it just may take some adaptations and a new mindset. I wish all of you well. I love you, and I hope to see you again.